Okay, perfect. So this one was a question that we're looking at last time at the end of the class last week on Friday. So the question is, we have an application here with a listener and it has a get method. So in the request, we send a CD as a query parameter, and the CD is being saved as a variable here. Then there is choice router. And in the choice router, the first one, let me show you the first one. When vars.cd, which is a query parameter, is equals to Seattle, it should return some information about Seattle. When the city is Chicago, it should return some information about Chicago. When the city is Cairo, it should return some information about Cairo. If the city is something else, then we have a flow reference, and that flow reference is calling the same flow. We just have one flow, as you can see here. We have queues choice router flow. So that is what it is flowing. That is what it is referencing. So this is called the recursive or infinite flow, infinite loop. So it is one type of error. And the question in this case was, let me show you. I have it in the notice section. And the question is, if I send a request to this application from Postman, for example, and specify CD is equals to Maqala, what will I receive? So the error we got at that time, it was I think, too many nested child contexts. And let me show you what this is doing. Let's add a logger and let's run it in debug mode. So I can go to core and, for example, add logger here. Another one also add, just bring in the flow reference, put it in between, and add breakpoint. Add breakpoint here also. Same thing, I think, yeah. Here also I can add one breakpoint. Now, let me open Postman and run this in debug mode. I send a request from here. And as query parameter, CD equals to this one, for example, send. So since it is in debug mode, you see there is a request. A request has come here. Now, when it is here, there is no any variable. That is why we see variable size 0. There is no any payload and so on. So click next. Now we see one variable and it is in the choice router, and the variable is the CD name. The CD name is Maqala. And in the choice router, we don't have any specification for Maqala. And then it is going to go to the default, and the default is calling the same flow reference. The same flow, let's see, if I click next, it comes to here. Then if I click next, it comes to this flow reference. Then if I click next, it gets back to, as you can see, it gets back to the beginning, to the set variable, which is from the attribute. Since the attribute doesn't change, it still will be Maqala. So if I click next, again, the same cycle repeats. Click next. As you can see, it got back to the same default route. And if I click next, it will go to flow reference and get back again, the same thing. So since the CD is always, it is referencing itself, the CD is always Maqala, and we don't have any specification for Maqala here, it will go to the default. It is calling the same flow again and again. Then after some time, it exits out. So it is like timing out these too many nested child contexts, means it is timing out in Mule. So if you get a question where a flow is being referenced the same flow, it is referencing it, then the answer, what will be, if you are asked what will be the output, then it will time out is the answer. So for this one, we are referencing the same flow and it times out. Okay. Now I can start Kahoot. So I'm calling this grand Kahoot one. Let me show you here. We have the curriculum here. I'm a little bit modifying it as we go, but we have covered starting from here up to here, more or less. There could be a couple of things that I can finalize in one class, but we are here. We have covered all of this. So next week we will continue with this one. But since we have covered many contents, I thought combining all the Kahoot questions and checking for yourself your how you are catching up, or how much reading time do you need from the Kahoot questions, you can gauge yourself. If you, for example, if you are unable to answer many of the questions, then that means you have to allocate more time. Probably if you are spending time on social media, for example, let's say 1 hour per day, now you have to reduce that to 30 minutes per day, and 30 minutes maybe you have to use it to read the slides and go over the PowerPoint, to read the PowerPoint slides and go also over the YouTube videos. So that's the reason that I have these Kahoot questionnaires. But first, let me open all the slides also, so that I can show you as we go where because we have covered all the content that we will see in the Kahoot questionnaires. Let me open all the slides, and as we see each Kahoot question, we can also refer it from the Google slide, and that will help you to know where each content is located. So this is week 1B. This is software installation. Then week 2A. Then week 2B. Then week 3A. Then week 3B. Assignment. Then week 4A. And week 4B. And week 5, I think this slide was somewhat long and it covers a couple of classes, I think. Yeah, we don't have slides here. Then we have week 6 here, and week 7 from yesterday's. So we have all these PowerPoint slides. Let me close these GitHub tabs. Okay. Okay. Perfect. So this is one. No, okay, this is week 7. I think that is the same as this one. Yep, 7A, 6, 4, and 5. As a difference between this and this, they are the same. Okay, this one is another one for 3, A, B, 2. Okay. So I'm starting the Kahoot questionnaires. Just click what is shared in the chat, and you put the game pin that you see here. Then you put any username, anything, if descriptive, that will be good. Okay, perfect. So out of 52 people, 40 have joined already. So let's get started. Seconds remaining. Okay, perfect. You are doing good. So yeah, this one is from the first class, I think. You can go refer it, the first class or the second class. So yes, we can have multiple applications in the same host, multiple Mule applications in the same host. Like for example, in my laptop or in one cluster, in one AWS cluster, you can have multiple Mule applications. Five seconds remaining. Okay, so this one is, let me open Endpoint Studio. What it is saying is, okay, let me meet all the people now. So in Endpoint Studio, when we build an application, we specify the path, and without that path, we don't know, we cannot send a request to an application. So having path is mandatory. Without path, it doesn't know, or the application will not work. It will give you an error message. For example, if you have a listener in the configuration, it will ask you to specify the path. The base path is optional. You can go read the slides from the first or the second week. Base path is optional, but the path is not optional. It is mandatory. Why is my Endpoint Studio anomalously taking more time? Okay. Anyway, we can leave it. So leave it open. Okay, click next. Let's go to the next question. Yep, this one, you can go read it from, I think, yes, from this one. Week 2A, we have the different components of Endpoint platform. And once we build an application, we push it to Exchange and it becomes discoverable. So the answer is Exchange, but go read these slides from week 2A and try to understand the functionalities of the different components of Endpoint platform. This one has come now. So the path we said is this one. In here, in the listener, here we have under general. So this is the path. And to send a request, I need HTTP, the HTTP protocol, followed by the host, followed by the port, in our case 8081, followed by the path. This one, here. The query parameter is optional, so followed by the path. So this is the path and it is mandatory. Without the path, your application will not work. That was the true-false question. Okay, next. Okay, perfect. Yes, this one, the first step is design. We first design and we get feedback, and after that we go to building process. The reason that we started with building and we skip designing is we want to do the coding. There is a little bit of coding involved with what is called the RAML. So we want to do that later. But first we design, and we are going to, let me show you in the curriculum here. Okay, so the course syllabus. Here is where we are going to cover that. In here, we are going to cover designing API specification using RAML, this part. So, but generally, yes, we start with designing, and you can, about the life cycle, API development life cycle, I think it was in here. Please go read this one. So you have designing, simulating, getting feedback, validating, and after that, building, followed by deployment. Next. SQL is on the top. So is the same rephrasing of the previous question. Perfect. Go to the next one. Perfect. This one also in here. So the question is, what's the core characteristics of the modern API? So you can get it here. Before we start building, we design and get feedback so that we can quickly incorporate the feedback and make it more, rather than taking time building or designing the application, and after a long time we figure out there is a problem. In the modern API development cycle, we try to get feedback as soon as possible and try to incorporate it and enhance it. So getting feedback, designing and getting feedback is a core characteristics of modern API. Cool, this one, you can get it, I think it was in here. Just read this one. Many types of APIs, but the most common ones are the RESTful APIs. The APIs that we are building are called the RESTful APIs, but there are also what are called SOAP APIs. And for RESTful, we use RAML, RESTful, RAML, C, both start with R. And for SOAP, we use what is called WSDL or Web Services Description Language. So this is the answer for this one. And for RESTful, it is this RAM. So go read these slides on 1B. Okay, next. So the different types of APIs, we have them again on week 1B. We have system APIs, process APIs, experience APIs. So system APIs interact with the data systems, like the databases, for example, the backend databases where the data gets stored. So you can read about this also on the slides from week 1B. Okay, perfect. This one, understanding the Mule event structure is very important. It is in building Mule applications. Which one is it? Probably here. Okay. Understanding Mule event structures. Go over the week 3B slides and see the different components of a Mule event are here. So query parameter is under the attributes. Even when we access it in Endpoint Studio, we were using attributes.query parameters. That's the query parameter name. So go over these slides and make sure you understand it. Cool. So this one, we just saw it yesterday. So the text is trimmed in the question because there is limitation in the number of characters in Kahoot, but assume the scatter gather has 3 routes. So the scatter gather at the end, does it return an array or an object or the last Mule event from the last route or from the first route or the last JSON payload? Okay, this one, you can get it from yesterday's question. It is this one. And if you don't understand this one thing, we have gone over it, created a project and debugged it in one of the videos. The other thing is also do it yourself, create a scatter gather and add breakpoints, run it in debug mode and see what you get. But the answer is an object containing all 3 Mule event objects. Perfect. This one also, it is the same question we saw yesterday. We have also debugged it in one of the videos. But generally, yes, when we have flow referencing a subflow, the subflow acts as if it were running in the main flow, as part of the main flow. So the entire Mule event from the main flow is accessible to the subflow and vice versa. Not only the variables, just you can remember the entire Mule event, which includes the variables, the attributes, the payload, and so on, are accessible to the subflow. And everything from the subflow is also accessible to the main flow. This is when we use flow reference. When we use request, we are going to see that it will behave slightly different. So this is the payload. As you can see, it is an array. Then in that array it has objectives. So to access arrays, first we use indexing starting from 0. So this is for Cleveland. City Cleveland is the second object. That means in array indexing it will be 1 because 0 will be the first one. So payload square bracket 1 will give the second one, the second object. Once you get that object, then object has key value pairs. So to get the value of a key, you use dot. If you do dot key, it should give you the value. You can practice such things on the DataWeave playground. Okay, yeah, this one, please spend more time practicing on DataWeave playground and also going over one of the PowerPoint slides. Let me show you which one it is. Okay, maybe. Yes, here. So this is for 4B and 5A. We're talking about array indexing. So it starts from 0. 0 is the first one, then 1, 2, 3 up to the end, or you can start from -1 if you want to start from the right. Go over these slides on 4B and 5A, and also go over the tutorials on DataWeave playground. But see this one, for example. We have one question here, for example. It asks for this airport. So this airport is this one. They are very similar questions. It is this one. So as you can see, this is an array. It starts with a square bracket. And within that array, we have two elements, this object and this object. So when we do payload of 1, that means we are specifying this object. Now we have an object to get the airport. It asks for time zone, yeah. It asks for t-zone. So if I do dot t-zone, it is going to give me this value. If I do dot name, it is going to give me the airport name, and so on. So practice this also, spend enough time. This is very important concept. And once you understand it, everything will be, it will be very helpful. The rest of the other things you encounter will not be challenging. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, the entire event is sent to each route and processed in parallel. We saw this yesterday. You can check it in yesterday's slides. Yeah, this one is. I think it is because it is from different Kahoot classes. I combined them together, but we have seen this question, a similar question already. Perfect. This is wisdom. We just saw it now. Okay. Yeah, I should have checked this. Next question. These cron expressions, they may need a little bit time. So that's why I gave them longer time, 1 minute each. Okay. So for cron expressions, you can go over the slides. Which slides? These ones. Yes. Here we have them here, and you can practice in this website. There is another one also. Maybe I will skip that one. This one. Let me skip this one. This one also I will skip it. Cron expressions generally take longer time, so I'm to think. So that's why I'm skipping them. Okay, what do I have here? Yeah, see this one. It is just check if there double equality or single equal sign in the choice router. That's the only thing you want to check here. So it checks if it is an odd or not. It sends my name is equals to 4, and it checks if my name is even or not is the logic. But see, in the choice router we have single equality in the first one. So do we use single equality or double equality is the only thing you have to know here. As you can see in the first one, there is one equality, right? Payload dot is underscore odd equals to 2. Okay, yes. So to check equality, we use double equal sign, not single equal sign. So this one, it returns an error for that reason. We have seen a couple of questions on this one already. So you can check yesterday's slides and also in the previous class, last week's slide. This one I will skip it because I already demoed it before we started Kahoot. So skip it. It times out basically. If it references itself, it times out. In a choice router, if there are multiple routers which evaluate to true, only the first one gets executed, the first one from top to down. Once it gets the first true, it doesn't go to the rest of them. I guess you can use the study groups also to discuss these questions. Okay, so this is just to go over the Mule event structure, which is in here. So variables are under Mule event. So Mule event has a message, variables, and exception handler. And under message, we have payload and attributes. So variables are under Mule event. This is week 3B slides. Next. Yes, when we send a request to a resource with a URI parameter, we use forward slash. Like for example, this one is for ID 1234. When we create it in Anypoint Studio, we use curly braces, and when we send a request, we do forward slash. Then we specify the URI parameter. Yeah, it just came here. When we build the application, we have our parameters, we specify them using curly braces. Yes, curly braces. So those of you who are not getting the answers correct, it shows you how to watch the videos and read the slides and build applications and understand the concept. Okay, when we use on new or updated file, if you remember, we were specifying what should happen to the original file. So it depends on your specifications, whether you want it to be backed up, whether you want it to be deleted, and so on. So such kind of tricky questions are there in the certification. So try to pay attention to details is the message here. We have seen a couple of questions on this one. So if we use a target in the flow reference, then the original payload will not be overwritten because the payload coming from the subflow will be saved as a variable under the target. So this one also you can get it from yesterday's class and from previous week's classes. DataWeave data types, you can go check them on the DataWeave playground. Okay, perfect. How do you select the last 3 elements of an array called countries? The last 3, not the first 3. Yep, perfect. This one is basically what I just showed you. It should be where is it? Okay, here, yes. So here, if you want the last 3, you write from -1 to -3. If you want the first 3, you do from 0 to 2. So you have range selector is n to m, and they can be positive. You can go from the left to the right or from the right to the left, and so on. An object can contain an array as the value of a key. The key itself cannot be an array, but its value can be anything. We can have nested kind of objects, so the value of a key can be an array itself, it can be an object, it can be an array of arrays, and so on. So yes, answer is true. Yep, you can use scheduler. Also, you can use on new or updated file. Transform message is not a source trigger. A listener cannot also automate data processing, but he can use both scheduler or on new or updated file. So scheduler, you schedule it based on regular frequency or on cron expression, whereas on new or updated file, it is going to check every based on the scheduled frequency, it is going to check if there is new data or modified file in the specified repository. So these are the different flow types. We have the main flow, or we simply call it flow, the subflow, and the private flow. And there are differences we saw in one of the slides. Perfect. There are differences. Let me show you where it is. Here, yeah. Slide is 4B. So you can see what their differences are in here. Next. Yes, so what we said is here. So subflow, it doesn't have event sources or event trigger, and it doesn't have error handling, whereas private flow, it has error handling, but it doesn't have event source like listener or scheduler and so on. Private flow doesn't have it, but it has its own error handling approach. We are going to see that when we cover error handling in MuleSoft, but generally it is very important to remember this table. So go read this table and make sure you understand it. We are almost done. For a Mule application to compile, it has to have at least, we said, so Mule application has 3 components: a source, a processor, and error handler. And we said source and error handler are optional, whereas a processor is a must. Without a processor, it cannot compile. Like for example, a subflow, it needs a processor. Okay. To completely replace an existing resource, so we use get to get, post to send new, to create new, patch to modify partially, and put to replace completely or create a new one if it doesn't exist. All these RESTful messages are specified, I think, somewhere. Do we have them here? Yes. In here on week 2B, they are here. So you can see put is here. This should be the easiest, I think. Okay, cool. An event source, what does it do? An event source does it do enrichment, transformation, filtering, and aggregation, or it is a processor that does that? Yes, answer for this is false. An event source is like the listener, the scheduler, or a new or updated file. They start the flow. Event sources start the flow, and the process do the enrichment, transformation, filtering, and processing, and so on. So this thing is also in the slides. Please read it. So scatter gather, since it does processing in parallel, the time that it takes will be, what will be the time that it takes? In this case, if we have 15 seconds one route, 15 seconds one route, the total time that it will take will be total, it will be 20 seconds, the maximum one. If it is sequential, it will be 35, but if it is in parallel, then one is the slower one completes, then we say the scatter gather has completed its task. Okay. So you have a variable, its name is images. How do you access its content? Okay, yes. If we have variables, we use vars dot variable name. We have many examples in the slides, in the hands-on demos, and so on. So please go refer the content on the blog. We're almost done. To send the data, what do we use? What method do we use? Do we use get, update, create, or post? Perfect. Yeah, we use post. There is no create method, so we use post. When we send the data using the post method, if we have a listener, for example, and if we run it in debug mode, by the time it is triggered in the beginning, does it have a payload? And is the content of the payload what we send for postman using the post method? Yes, that is a payload. Last question. So, which of the following are not part of Mule for event? So the parts of the Mule for event are the ones that you see here. Inbound and outbound properties are not part of a Mule for event. So this is all. Let's see the winners. Fish, followed by the stallion, maybe Aspal, or who is the first one? Perfect. Thank you so much, guys, for participating. I hope this helps you to gauge yourself and see where you should spend more time studying.